In the last video on the 335i F30 project, I showed some old footage of me removing the drivetrain in preparation to repair the damaged frame rails on this car. Used the frame machine to pull one of the frame rails a little and completely removed all of the damaged structural panels in the front end of this car. In today's video, we're gonna pick up where we left off and start putting this car back together. We have a ton of prep work that we need to do. So let's get into it on Rebuild or Revival. So I'm gonna start with the used stuff that we have. Remove this inner frame rail, a portion of the apron assembly on the backside, all of this stuff back in here that is still in the car that we're not gonna need off of here. A couple of these panels. So yeah, we're just gonna start removing some stuff off of this. Hey! Trash. All right, this is taking quite some time, but I'm getting there. So I've got a lot of stuff removed here. The next thing I need to do is remove this piece here because there is some structure underneath it. This is the little bracket that is inside. So I need to remove the outer panel so I can attach this to the rest of the assembly, and then I'll put this outer panel back on. I think you could also just like cut a section here, but I don't really trust myself doing that. So I'd rather just remove this whole piece, attach it underneath, and then put the whole piece back on. Whew. All right guys, so it's the next day. I spent like probably 6 hours on this thing yesterday. I don't normally do this type of work, so it is taking me a little bit longer than someone like, V-Tuned, where he just gets in there and probably busts this out in 2 hours. I finally got this outer apron panel removed. This structure here is still in the car, so we need to remove this. We need to remove this panel here. So this is going in the car. This will not be because the original one is still in the car. This panel back here, it's all one piece. That needs to go as well. So this has got to go. This has got to go. And this piece here will go when this stuff goes. So I was trying to put the whole assembly on the car as one piece, but I can't. You just can't get it in there in one piece. Different things hit each other. So we're gonna have to separate the strut tower apron assembly from the frame rail. I'm just gonna take off some of the seam sealer. All right guys, check this out. I am looking at this 99 Mustang GT Roush. It's a stage 2 and it's about to go up to auction. I am winning it, as you can see. It's clean title. Anyways, might be buying this. It's going up to auction in a couple of minutes. Pretty cool. All right, let's get back to this. So here's all of the stuff for the passenger side. This is all ready to go in. Well, it's all taken apart and separated, ready to go in. We still need to do some prep work, smooth out some of the surfaces, remove some more seam sealer from some areas, flatten out some of these little nubs, things like that. Still need to be done to this. But we're gonna jump over into the car and start prepping the car to accept all of this stuff. Here's the new panels for the driver's side. And I think I'm gonna start with the driver's side. It's obviously a lot easier. There's only 2 panels we need to replace, but we need to do some work here. So we need to flatten out a lot of these little nubs that are still here, like that. On the new panel, we are going to have to cut some holes where we're going to be spot welding it to here. And for this part of the apron assembly that goes up here, I think I actually need to remove this because it's kind of in the way for me to get this new panel installed. So I need to remove this piece, and it's only a few spot welds here on top. So I'm just going to jump in and start prepping all of this metal, smoothing some of it out, flattening some of it out, removing this piece, and just start getting the new panels mocked up on the car. All right, I've gotten the driver's side pretty well straightened out, all of the holes cut where they need to be, all of the little nubs filed down smooth where they need to be smooth. I still need to do some cleaning on this side as well as on that side, and scuff and weld through prime all of the areas where we're going to be welding. So that still needs to be done on this side, but I want to jump over here and start straightening out all of the metal that's here in the car and start prepping all of this stuff. And then once that is all straightened out and all of the holes are where they need to be over here, then we'll clean everything that's on the car. And then we still need to do a little more prep work on the parts that are going in. But as for the car, we are getting pretty close. So let's jump over to the passenger side. Well, I left my safety glasses at home, so I'll be using these. This stuff gets everywhere. Just doing some cross measurements, doing this one here from the front of the apron over to the strut tower bolt on that side. It's 1,097 millimeters, and then from this bolt on this strut tower over here, 1,111 millimeters, and it is dead on. So this is set to 1,097, moved a little bit. So 1,097, right on. I mean, this isn't clamped into position yet. I just am kind of test fitting, but that is right on, if you can see. And then 1,111 right there is this one, and that is right on. This may need to come over just a hair but that's not even like a millimeter off. So I am happy about that. We already did the cross measurement from the frame rails, which is this one here. So 800 millimeters from side to side. Let's do this one too. So we've got 1187 from bolt to bolt on the strut tower. So we just bring this to 1187, 85, 86, 87. There we go, 1187 from bolt hole to bolt hole across here. And that is right on as well. And then 794 from here to here. That is a little off, but this piece kind of needs to come in a little bit. I mean, it's close. We're within the realm of a 0.5 millimeter difference on all the measurements, maybe a millimeter, 0.5 millimeter. But once we get the final clamp in to weld everything in, we'll make sure everything is perfect. So, a little more prep work to do. The next thing we're going to be doing, which I already did to this panel here, is sanding off all of the paint where we're going to be welding both sides. And I did that with a couple of different things. One, I used the wire wheel in some areas, but I was mainly using the Scotch-Brite sanding belt on the belt sander. This works pretty well. So now we need to go around and do all of these areas. A lot of it already seems done because we did file down these nubs that were here with the belt sander, but some areas we'll still need to work on. So we're just going to go around, make sure all of the areas where we're going to be welding don't have any paint. We'll also need to do that to these new panels. So we'll sand through all of this. This is like the e-coating type primer that they put on, but we need to sand through this and then apply the weld through primer. So I've got all of the paint removed off of all of the spots where we are going to be plug welding, as well as all of the used panels that we're going to be putting on. Got all of this stuff all prepped out. I still need to do the new panels, so I'm going to do that next. I need to punch out the holes wherever I need holes, and then I need to sand off the paint wherever we need to do that. But I'm going to jump over and start cleaning up the engine bay here and all of the frame rails. You can see all of the metal dust is like sticking to the wax. This is the wax, the cavity wax that was in there originally, and a lot of it is here on the bottom. So I need to clean all of this off. All right, got it all nice and cleaned up. Looking good. No more metal shavings inside. And I got all the way down inside the frame rails as much as possible, but it's pretty good. All right, now I'm gonna start working on the new panels. I've got one of these pneumatic hole punchers. I just went and picked it up, and that's what I'm gonna be using to punch the holes. So you can see the little dies in there. Goes just far enough. I mean, it may be a little bit closer to the edge than what it originally was, but it should be fine. There we go. Oh yeah. That's sweet. Look at that. It looks like factory. That looks pretty good. Now I'm gonna have to do these the old-fashioned way. All right, I just cleaned all the paint off of these new panels, both sides. You only need to prime the one side that's gonna be touching the other metal. You don't have to prime. This is the outside, so I'll be welding through this. You don't have to do weld through primer on this. You will prime it after you're done welding. Just on the inside, where it's gonna touch the other metal, is where you need to weld through prime. So we've got all of this prepped. All of this used stuff is also prepped where we're gonna be welding. So we need weld through primer on all of this. Nice and prepped. As well as the car. Car is nice and prepped everywhere. So now we're gonna be going through with some of this. If I had more, I would just use this, but I'm almost out. So I might be able to get away with this, or I may have to use some of that. I'm also gonna use a Scotch-Brite just to kind of get in there and get rid of anything else that's there. I'll just hit it with the Scotch-Brite really quick with the Prep All spray and maybe the wax and grease remover, and then I'll wipe it down, and then we'll be ready to spray our weld through primer. And here is the weld through primer that we're gonna be using. I've had this now for quite some time, so hopefully it's still good. So basically all I'm doing is putting the wax and grease remover here, scuffing it just a little. I've already removed everything, but just in case there's any little bit left, we'll just use this and then wiping it off with a rag. Just like that. All right, we just hit all of the surfaces where we're going to use the weld through primer with wax and grease remover, all over here and all over these parts down here. So we're just gonna blow everything off and then we'll start priming everything. Oh, what the heck? This can is messed up. It's spraying out. I don't know. I'm just gonna have to try and rush through this, and paint's gonna be going everywhere, but oh well. It's like 8 o'clock at night right now, or I'd go get another can of this, but I can't. All right guys, so it's the next day. This stuff has been drying for the night. I didn't need to let it dry for the night, but it was late last night when I finished painting. So now we're gonna start mocking it up on the car. So we're just gonna start pulling the parts over, getting them mocked up, taking a bunch of measurements. So first, we need to get the strut tower. All right, we're gonna take some measurements here. In between the two frame rails, where the subframe bolts to, should be 800 in between each one. And then if you cross measure them, that cross measure should be exactly the same. If it's not, then it's out of square. So let's try 800 first. That's good. And that's right on as well. Okay, now let's get the square. All right. Here's my schematic here of the measurements that I just took. So here's the back of the car, here's the front of the car. This is where the subframe bolts to the frame rails, 1, 2, 3, 4. The measurements are correct here, 800 and 800. As shown here, supposed to be 800, 800. But the cross measurement is off. This is 870 millimeters, this one is 875, which means both frame rails are still 800 millimeters apart, but they're both shifted over. If you can see this dotted line here, they're both shifted over this way to the driver's side a little, how it got hit. So I need to pull that frame rail over a little, and this one I can just move just a hair. So I think I'm gonna have to use the frame machine. There we go. So first, we'll make sure they're still 800 apart. Yep. And this one. Yep. It's 870. Oh, that fits. I'd say that's good. Okay. Don't touch it. Let's try this cross measurement. That's good. That is pretty dang close. Okay, I think we're good over here. We're clamped, we're good. Now let's get this piece under here. Let's get this thing up in there. Boom. All right, I'm going to show you guys all the cross measurements here based off of this sheet. So first one, we're already on 1,111. So that should be from here to the bolt hole over there. And that is dead on. Perfect. And this is nice. You can get a level here. You want to measure it level. And that's dead on when it's level. So we're good there. Next one, 1,097. So we'll just bring this down, and that should be from this bolt hole here up to this one in the front apron. And that one is also dead on when we're level. So that is perfect. Now between the two, 794. So we'll just bring this down to 794. And like I showed you guys, this has the tape measure on it, which is really cool. So 794, and this is all in millimeters. And that should be here. And that is dead on. So those are all good. Now in between the two strut towers, 1,187. That should be here to there. And that is right on as well. Now the only other one are these, which are a little bit harder to measure. Mine doesn't go that small, but I can measure it with a tape measure. So this should be 525 from the center. So we'll just try and get it in the center. And then eyeball that. That looks pretty close. And then this one, 527 from this one to here. And I'd say that is right on as well. So we are completely square all here. We squared these up as well. This is for the subframe mount. These are all square. I mean, we're ready to tack this thing in. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for today's video. I need to go home. I was only able to work on this a couple hours today and only a few days this week, which is why it didn't really seem like a lot of work got done. To me, it felt like a lot of work. All of this prep work just takes a ton of time and it's really meticulous. Yeah, it was a lot of work to me. Here's a closer look at how all the panels are clamped into the car. You can see where I clamped everything together and all of the weld through primer on some areas and the bare metal on others. Just a better overall picture of how I have this stuff set in there. I really can't wait to get this thing welded up and put back together, which will hopefully be happening very soon. So if you're enjoying the 335i F30 content, definitely hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you all in the next video.